In a strange world, Shiro finds himself standing in a market among people whose clothes don't look like the ones in his world. Then he falls to the ground, and his health points appear in front of him, so he realizes he's inside a game. He sees a friend list and searches it for someone he knows, and indeed, he finds Natsugu and calls him, then goes to meet him. Natsugu asks him where they are, so he tells him it seems like they're in the world of Elder Tale, and then they go gather information about that world. On their way, someone is watching them from afar and starts throwing rocks at them. So Shiro tells Natsugu that's Akatsuki, we were in the same party. They go to meet him and Shiro is surprised that she's a girl, and she tells him she was looking for him, she wants to buy an appearance change potion from him. So he gives her the potion and she turns into a small girl but she's a level 90 assassin. Shiro asks her if she changed her character to be closer to how she looks in real life, and she tells him yes, she wasn't comfortable with how she looked in the game. Natsugu tells her to join them, but she says assassins are always alone. So Shiro tells her they're not just anyone, and for now it's better if she's in a party, they'd be happy if she joined them. So she tells him, as a ninja, I will serve you, my lord, you saved me and I must repay the favor. The next day they go to the market and Shiro thinks to himself that the characters living in Elder Tale call themselves people of the land, and they call us players adventurers. Akatsuki buys them some food but they all feel that it tastes the same, even the juices taste like water. Someone calls Shiro and he says it's Marielle, the leader of the Crescent Moon Alliance Guild, and they go to the guild hall and she welcomes them. Shiro asks her where the rest of the guild members are, and she tells him 19 people are online including her, and 18 of them are in Akihabara, and the teleportation gates aren't working so it's impossible to fast travel anywhere, and the adventurers in Akihabara have gathered with their guilds like them. In times like this, the more people around you the better. So Shiro tells them that's not necessarily true. Do they remember the new expansion, Novasphere Pioneers? If they really added the expansion, then all the monsters and elements will be different. So this isn't the Elder Tale world we know. Marielle tells him she knows he doesn't like guilds, but what does he think about joining their guild? The tea party was disbanded, right? So he tells her sorry, but he can't join right now, and he leaves. Marielle tells her team that the tea party was a small group that never made a guild, but they managed to win many large-scale battles called raids, and Shiro was the strategist in it. At the same time, Shiro tells Natsugu that sometimes if you die in the game, you die in real life, but they can't test that, so he asks him even if he comes back to life what would be the penalty, so he tells them let's try it. At night they go to the forest and Shiro tells them they're level 90 which is the max level. Usually weak monsters ignore them, but here you'll see monsters engaging in intense battles so it's the best place to try it out. Suddenly, rats of level 28 appear and attack them. Natsugu struggles to enter commands and the monsters attack. One of them grabs Shiro and throws him, so Akatsuki jumps down with her sword and defeats it. Shiro asks her how she did that, and she tells him she doesn't know, her body moved on its own. Shiro tells Natsugu not to use abilities, try using your body, and he tries it and succeeds in defeating the monsters. At the same time, one of Marielle's guild members named Serera sends a distress call and some people are chasing her. The next day, Shiro sees someone come back to life after dying, so he says to himself just like in the game, he was revived in the cathedral, and in this game, death isn't the end. At sunset, they fight monsters and gain experience in using their skills and magic. At night, Akatsuki tells them she'll go ahead to make sure the path home is safe, and at the same time, it will be training for her because one of the assassin's skills is night vision, and she has the silent serpent walk, and this forest is a suitable place for training. She walks away and they don't hear a sound from her at all. They arrive at Marielle's house, and Henrietta tells them that the country's safety has gotten very bad, the larger guilds are using their power freely and acting like anyone not in their guild is an enemy, and combat in cities wasn't allowed when Elder Tale was just a game. If you fought in cities, support forces would call the Royal Guard, and if you resisted, they would kill you. And in the past few days, the number of pikers has increased, and they are players who attack other players instead of monsters and steal their gear and money. At night in the forest, a group of pikers surrounds them, and Natsugu attacks them. One of the killers attacks Shiro, so he binds her leg with magic threads. Natsugu charges his energy, so they are forced to attack him all at once and he blocks their strikes. Shiro notices his health points dropping, so he uses a magic technique that binds them with glowing thorns and makes every hit from Natsugu more powerful. Their leader calls for their healer, so Natsugu attacks the enemy and kills him. The leader is shocked and looks at the healer and finds him asleep because of a magical technique Shiro used on him. The enemy girl attacks Shiro and Natsugu jumps behind her and stops her. The leader calls for his hidden allies but finds that Akatsuki has defeated them, so he falls to the ground and begs them not to kill him, then pulls out his weapon and jumps to attack Shiro, but Akatsuki kills him. After that, they go to Marielle and she tells them she's going to Susukino because Serera is there. So Shiro tells them the only way to get there is by horse, and the road is 425 kilometers. Why did you ask for my help now? Marielle tells him the situation in Susukino has gotten very bad, and some bad players attacked Serera, but she was lucky that a good player saved her, so they are going to get her back, and she wants to ask him to look after the guild while they're gone. So Shiro says to himself it'll take them 21 days just to reach there. That means more than a month before they return. If they had a good healer, no, their journey will fail. Then he stands up and tells her they'll go. They go and ride the horses and set off, and the next day Shiro and Natsuga use an item that summons 2 hawks, and they ride them and take off. After only 3 days, they reach a place called Palm Depths, and their goal is to pass through the mountains and then cross the canal to reach Susukino. Shiro tells them this place is full of dangers and obstacles, but if they get through it, they'll be on the northern side of the mountain. At the same time, Serera is in the house of the person who saved her, and she's cleaning it. He walks in, he's half cat, and asks her when the people coming for her will arrive. She tells him tomorrow, so he says he didn't expect them to arrive this fast. Meanwhile, Shiro and the others are crossing the bridge when it suddenly breaks, and Shiro tries to save Akatsuki but ends up falling into the river. He starts seeing all the people he used to play with praising him for being a skilled player. Then a memory comes up of him standing in front of the Tea Party members, and one of them tells him, "Lost in your thoughts again?" Shiro wakes up, and Natsuga tells him that after he fell, he jumped after him and saved him. They continue on their way, and suddenly the surroundings change and a massive level 68 monster appears. Natsuga hits his shield with his sword to get its attention. Akatsuki attacks it, and so does Natsugu. Shiro uses the glowing thorns and binds it. Natsugu and Akatsuki attack it again, but it still moves. So Shiro uses a magical technique that weakens it greatly, and Akatsuki comes down on it with her sword and finishes it off. With that, they've crossed the mountain and find a breathtaking sunset view. Shiro remembers a Tea Party member when they were in the same place, and she told him the best thing about adventure is discovering new things. Meanwhile, the city is in chaos, and one of the gangs is taking over the area and collecting loot. One of them tells another, "Why are you standing there? Go grab some stuff," but he replies, "I don't think I can do that." Then Demicas, their leader, appears and tells him to return to the castle and throws him. He says, "It's just a game and everything here is virtual." He then asks his assistant, "Where are the cat and the girl?" The assistant tells him he sent people to look for them, but they found nothing. So he orders the whole gang to search for the cat and Serera. At the same time, Shiro tells them the guild that controls Susukino is Brigandia, so Akatsuki tells him even when it was just a game, their reputation was really bad, and she asks him why they're meeting them inside the city. He tells her because if a fight happens outside and they die, they'll be revived in Akihabara, but Serera will be revived in Susukino again. Then he tells her he wants her to go ahead using stealth and concealment skills and observe the situation for them. Shiro and Natsugu enter through the gate, and Brigandia members notice them. They reach the place where they'll meet Serera, and Shiro tells Natsugu to wait outside. He goes in and finds the cat who saved her, and he's surprised and says, "Master Nianta." The cat says, "I was wondering who was coming, but it's you, Shiro. Now I get how you got here so quickly." Shiro tells him Natsugu is outside and he thinks he should come with them, Master. Nianta says he doesn't mind, there's no reason to stay here. Serera tells Shiro the guild is coming from the north and they'll be here in 5 minutes. Their leader is a large man and he's the master of Brigandia, and his name is Demicas. So Shiro contacts Natsugu and tells him they'll leave through the back exit. When they get out, Shiro tells Serera not to worry, they won't attack now because fighting in the city is forbidden, so they'll wait until they're outside and then surround them. And just as expected, once they exit the city gate, they find Demicas surrounding them. He says to Serera, "You think you'll defy me and walk away unharmed?" Nianta tells him, "You've crossed the line. Come fight me one-on-one." Demicas jumps at him and Nianta dodges and draws his swords and attacks, but Demicas avoids the strike and hits back with fast blows, lowering Nianta's health to half. Nianta charges at him and uses a weapon technique that reduces the enemy's attack and defense. Shiro tells Serera that when he gives the signal, she should cast the healing pulse on everyone. Demicas gets angry and tells his men, "Heal me and attack the cat and get the girl." They charge at Nianta and Natsugu, so Shiro tells Serera to heal everyone now. Then she tells him she can't hold out much longer, so he tells her not to worry about Natsugu and focus on Nianta. Demicas attacks Nianta and sends him flying. Natsugu uses Stone Fortress, a spell that prevents any damage for 10 seconds. Serera uses healing on him and Shiro casts Hostage Thorn on Demicas. Nianta attacks and cuts through all the thorns, causing massive damage, and Demicas falls to the ground. Akatsuki finishes off the rest of the guild before they can heal him. She thinks to herself there must be a secret behind Shiro's spell. These thorns deal 1000 damage per hit from an ally. Even with sword damage that's not enough to take down Demicas, so she guesses Nianta hit him 9 times, the first 5 in one strike. Then Shiro reshaped the thorns, and Nianta hit him 4 more after. And Natsuga used Stone Fortress like he already knew there was a plan. How did they do all that without even making a plan before the battle? Shiro asks Demicas, still want to fight? Demicas says, I'll send all of you to the cathedral, and attacks Shiro. Sarara gets angry and hits him with her staff, and he dies because his health was down to just 1 point. Then they summon their hawks and head toward Akihabara. On their way, they stop to take a break and set up the tents. At night, they prepare food, which looks good but tastes awful. Natsuga smells something grilling and finds Nianta grilling meat, and when they taste it, they're shocked by how delicious it is. So Shiro asks him how he made it, and he tells them to stop thinking of food as game food. Ingredients like fruits and vegetables have a real taste, so do like he did and don't craft the food from the menu. Prepare the ingredients by hand. Shiro tells him they tried, but when they do that, the food turns into some weird paste. So he tells him it's because the person making it isn't a cook or doesn't have the basic cooking level, but he has a cooking subclass. Then Sarara stands up and tells them, I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself properly. I'm Sarara from the Crescent Moon Alliance, still a beginner healer at level 19, and my subclass is Maid. Then she asks Nianta if he and Shiro have known each other for a long time. He tells her, and Natsuga too, back when it was just a game, they were all in the same group. It was called the Tea Party. Sarara asks them, so you were all in the same guild? Natsuga tells her it wasn't a guild, more like a bunch of drifters. Nianta laughs and tells her each of us was from a different guild and had a different personality from the others, and we had nothing in common, we just happened to enjoy the adventure together. Akatsuki thinks to herself, that explains why Shiro and his friends have a high-level reward like the Griffin, and their amazing teamwork. In my current state, I can't reach that. They set off again and travel a long distance, then take another break. At night, Shiro remembers twins he knew back when this was just a game. The girl was a mage and the boy was a samurai. He remembers when the girl told him, my magic is so weak I can't even heal my brother's wounds. I should buy supplies, but we don't know where to find them. And the boy said, and I want skills, so if you know where to get them, tell us. Shiro says he doesn't like people coming to him just because they want something, but the two were beginners, so he taught them a lot for a while using the mentor system, which lets high-level players lower their level to play with low-level characters. Nianta asks him, are they on your friend list? He tells him the girl's name is Minori and the boy's name is Tohoya. He saw them after the apocalypse and they were both in a guild and level 8. He thinks their level is a bit higher now. The next day they fly again, but they find a storm, so they decide to land in a nearby village. At the same time, Tohoya and Minori are in the forest with their guild leader, and they're injured and on their way to Akihabara, the same place Shiro and the others are going. Their healer died in the battle and was sent to the cathedral. Tohoya tells his sister, because of the leader, 2 of us died today. She tells him, I hate to admit it, but it's also because we're weak. One of the team members tells the leader, we didn't get our share. So he replies, that's because you're weak. Tohoya tells him, no, it's because his level was way too high, so we failed. They arrive at the shelter, and Minori tells her brother, these wounds will heal on their own over time, but you're suffering every day. He tells her, so are you, all your fingers are injured. She tells him, that's from sewing all day. He tells her, why did we even join this guild? She tells him, we had no choice, there's a lot we don't know. The guild officers enter and tell them to show what they have, so they all pull out magic potions. The leader tells them, even though you're useless, you still get 3 meals a day. Tohoya thinks, in a moment like this, what would Shiro do? The next day, Shiro and the others set out and arrive at the guild, where they find a welcome party for Sarara. At night, Shiro asks Marielle about the situation in Akihabara. She tells him the number of pikers has gone down, but something bad is going to happen, as if everyone's going to drop in level. We're a small guild with 30 members, and we have 4 at level 90 and the rest under 50. But the big guilds like the Crescent Guild can gather hundreds of warriors. They have nearly 1,500 players at level 90, so they control and dictate everything. For example, they control the hunting areas, and the weaker guilds can't reach the monsters because of the stronger ones. So the strong take all the rewards. And fighting in the city is forbidden, as you know, and you can't even start a battle in the combat zone. So Shiro tells her he doesn't like what's happening. She tells him a few days ago, some small guilds gathered to try solving the matter, but some of them had priorities, so the discussion ended up about priority, sharing, and selfishness, and still, the black and silver warriors are trying to reach level 91. Shiro is surprised and says, 91. She tells him after the update, there's a promotion up to level 100, and the black sword warriors always talk about something important. Their leader, Isaac, takes pride in enjoying exclusion and doesn't allow anyone under level 85 to enter the guild so they can fight level 85 monsters. Shiro tells her those are very dangerous monsters. She tells him they would be if fought the normal way, but they use EXP pots. Shiro tells her, you mean they're leveling up by cheating? That's an item that boosts strength, endurance, health, and gives them experience in using combo attacks, and it's used for healing. Marielle tells him there's a guild called Hamelin that tricked new players by pretending to help but stole the EXP pots from them and sold them to the stronger guilds so they could use them to level up. Shiro goes out for a walk, thinking about everything happening and about the guilds. Then Nianta appears and asks him, "You still hate guilds?" He tells him that when he thinks of the thing that made him hate guilds the most, he sees childish behavior. Nianta tells him the system makes guilds awful, but he doesn't get why Shiro doesn't want to form a guild. Like the Tea Party, it was a wonderful place because of everyone's work in it, and that makes it a treasure to him, but no one else can see that. So Shiro makes his decision and calls Minori, who's sleeping in the guild surrounded by the other kids. Shiro tells her, 1 cough for yes, 2 for no, and 3 for I want to say something. "You two are in Hamelin, right?" She coughs once. He asks, "Are you giving the EXP pots to Hamelin?" She coughs once. He asks, "Are you okay?" She cries and coughs once. He tells her, "Right now I believe you're okay, so you have to believe in me. I'll come save you." The next day, Shiro goes to Marielle and tells her, "This time, I'm the one asking for your help. I'm going to make Hamelin leave the city, and that's just the first part. Akihabara has become filthy and cheap, and that's why I'm going to clean it up. Akihabara is my city, and it's the largest place in the Japanese server, and now it's become sad and messy, and everyone's doing whatever they want." Henrietta asks him, "How will you do that?" He tells her, "I need money. So far I need 5 million gold coins." They're shocked by the number, and she tells him, "We only have 600,000. What can you even do with that?" He tells them, "Money isn't the only problem. I need to give everyone hope. I believe many people love Akihabara and want to help it, and that's why we can win. I need your help for me and for my guild." Marielle is surprised and asks him, "You decided to start a guild?" He tells her, "Yes, and I'll name it Log Horizon." Henrietta asks, "Since you're an accountant, how do we get that money?" In this world, there are no rules, and nothing stops us from creating a new rule. She thinks to herself, "We need a law that lets us earn money and at the same time makes people happy." Then she gets an idea and tells him, "I have a plan. We'll make real tasting food using Nianta's skills and sell it to players to gather the 5 million gold coins." The next day, both guilds set out to execute Henrietta's plan. Natsuga goes with Shuryu and Hien to hunt boars, and Nianta trains cooks on how to make the food. At the same time, Akatsuki is spying on the Hamelin guild. The next day, they open the restaurant, and Marielle calls out to players and tells them, "We have real food you can try." When they try it, they're shocked by the taste, and the news spreads among the players, and they're really happy because they hadn't eaten real food in a long time. After that, Marielle asks Henrietta, "How much did we make?" She tells her, "We earned 43,000. Marielle is happy and says, "At this rate, we'll reach the 5 million in time." But Shiro tells her, "We won't make it in time, we'll need at least 4 months. Henrietta says, "Even with demand rising, we can only serve 1,000 customers a day because our guild isn't big enough," and then says, "I'll go deposit the earnings in the bank." At night, Shiro calls Minori and tells her, "I created a guild and I'll include you in it. Our work is developing now, hang in there a bit longer." Then he goes to meet Nianta and tells him, "Back when this was just a game, these buildings were just background, but now they're for sale. And that's not all. All the cities, regions, and buildings are being sold, but they're really expensive." Sujiro enters, and Nianta tells him, "I heard you made a guild," and he tells him, "Yes, I called it the Caravan. It's a small guild but strong." Then he asks them, "Why did you call me? I thought you didn't like me, Shiro." Shiro asks him, "Why?" He tells him, "Because when I invited you to join my guild, you didn't accept." Shiro tells him, "Back then I didn't want to join any guild, but after the apocalypse, I realized I needed to secure a place for myself and be among people who protect each other. So I made a guild to be my home and open spots for others." Sujiro asks him, "What do you need from me?" Nianta asks him, "What do you think of Akihabara?" He tells him, "I think it's a prison, and not just Akihabara, the whole world has become a prison." So Shiro tells him, "I have a plan to improve it and I need your help." He tells him, "I'm in." Shiro asks, without even hearing the plan, he tells him, "Yes." The next day, he helps them in the restaurant, and Shiro thinks to himself, "It's time to think about the next level." At the same time, someone named Karashin enters to meet with Marielle and Henrietta and asks them, "Why did you summon me here?" She tells him, "I need your help with the ingredient stock. We're using outside sources to gather the materials." He asks, "How much do you need? And how much will you pay?" Henrietta gives him a paper with the price written on it. He thinks to himself, "This is a great deal." Then he asks them, "These ingredients are for Crescent Moon's restaurant, right?" She tells him, "Yes." He asks her, "Are you using a new recipe?" She tells him, "No, we just have good cooks." He says, "Have you considered partnering with Shopping District 8? Henrietta tells him, "I'm sorry, but it's time, our guests have arrived. The Marine Agency and the Merchant Guild Roderick." He gets nervous and asks them, "Why are they here?" She tells him, "For investment, specifically, the sale of Crescent Moon's restaurant." Karashin is shocked and says, "Wait, what do you mean Crescent Moon's plans? And what do you mean by investment?" Henrietta asks him, how much will Shopping District 8 pay for this information? He says, I'll accept the deal we just discussed and you'll get what you need at wholesale price. She tells him, lower. He says, deal. On behalf of Shopping District 8, I accept the contract. Marielle tells Henrietta, now Mr. Karashin will witness the next level. At the same time, Minori thinks to herself, this world keeps showing me how disgusting it is. The day we came here, all I did was cry and wish someone would save us. But Tuya started to adapt to this world and began pushing me to move forward, but some stronger people attacked us and killed us. So we returned to the cathedral. Then someone showed up and offered to help us, and we went with him without knowing who he was. And the only thing I can do is cry over my weakness, and that's why I lose everything, and that's why we don't deserve to be saved by Shiro. At the same time, the head of the Marine Agency, Michitaka, and the head of the Merchant Guild, Roderick, arrive. Henrietta tells them, we want to extend the same offer we gave Mr. Karashin to you as well. The Crescent Moon Alliance has started a big project, and we can consider it a challenge, however, we can't do it alone. Karashin asks her, what kind of support do you need? She tells him, before I tell you what we need, I want to tell you how we started. The man in charge of our big operation is Shiro. Michitaka is shocked and says, the Glasses villain did this? Henrietta thinks to herself, he's more famous than I thought. The moment they learned Shiro is leading this operation, my words gained more value. Then she tells them, let's move on to the support I'm requesting from each of you. To be clear, we need money. Right now we need 5 million gold. She gives them food samples, and they're really impressed. She tells them, for now, I won't give you anything in return until the mission is complete, and the 3 of you will get the plan details, and we're ready to publish a book with all our recipes. Through asset liquidation and sales, we've earned 500,000 gold, but asking one guild for the remaining 4.5 million would weaken them, so we thought each of your guilds could give us 1.5 million. They all agree to the offer. At night, Shiro calls Minori and tells her, I'm doing it tomorrow. I promise I'll come save you. The next day, all the guild leaders gather at the guild building, and Shiro tells them, I brought you all here to find a solution to the problems in Akihabara. So Krusty, leader of the DDD guild, tells him, you want to try another failed attempt at forming an alliance of small guilds? Shiro tells him, yes, and I heard the last attempt failed. Then Akane, leader of the Radio Market Guild, says, it was a plan with many issues. Woodstock, leader of the Grand Guild, says, every guild just wanted to protect its own interests. Ainz, leader of the Honorable Guild, asks him, your goal in gathering the major forces of Akihabara is to prevent conflicts of interest? William, leader of the Silver Sword Guild, tells him, that definitely won't happen. So Shiro replies, that's not the point. My only goal is to fix the situation in Akihabara. William stands up and says, I'm leaving. We're a combat guild and have no interest in the city itself. We don't care about its condition. At the same time, Minori remembers when Shiro told her, soon Tuya and the others will escape and leave the guild behind. Take all the new players with you, and there will be a killer player named Akatsuki waiting in the guild building, and in case of death, someone named Natsugu will be at the cathedral. Shiro continues speaking to the leaders and tells them, I brought you here to create a council to discuss the problems in Akihabara, and our main goal is to improve the atmosphere and safety in the city. Krusty tells him, before you continue, can you tell us how you chose the guilds that are here? Shiro tells him, first, the Black Sword Knights, the Honorable DDD, and the Caravan were chosen because they're the largest and most prominent combat guilds. Same goes for Silver Sword who left. Second, the Marine Agency, Roderick the Merchant, and Shopping District 8 are the crafting guilds. Crescent Moon, the Grand, and Radio Market are the smaller guilds, and also the players who don't belong to any guild. Isaac, leader of the Black Sword Knights, asks, after forming the council, how will we maintain peace? And what do you mean by the city not being safe? Shiro tells him, you know there are certain guilds imprisoning new players under the guise of protection, right? They all get shocked, and Isaac tells him, you're talking about the EXP pots. At the same time, the leader of Hamelin tells the kids, time to go out hunting. Tuya contacts Shiro and tells him, we're ready, and Shiro coughs once. Isaac says, but that's illegal. Shiro tells him, right now, in this world, there are no laws. He says, no, there are no combat zones. Shiro tells him, that's just a defense system against player attacks, not a law. It's a natural phenomenon like any country. A while ago I went to the city of Susukino. There was a guild trying to control the city and threatening both people of the land and players, and the system didn't stop them even though that's illegal. Krusty asks him, what will you do if a group opposes the decisions made in this meeting? Shiro tells him, we'll remove them from Akihabara. Isaac tells him, your method won't work without combat guilds like us. If the main guilds here don't care about the conference or your laws, it will turn into war. Ainz says, if the major guilds go out of control, there will be no way to stop them. Krusty says, I think forming this roundtable conference is interesting, but it'll mostly be for show without any real effect. Shiro interrupts and tells them, today I bought the guild building. I now have the authority to control the area's settings and manage entry and exit, meaning that if I put someone on the blacklist, they'll never be able to access the cathedral. Sarah asks Henrietta, what does buying the guild building mean? She tells her, it means anyone Shiro doesn't want in the guild can't enter. Sarah tells her, but big guilds have their own halls in other places. She tells her, to create, join, or leave a guild, you have to come to the guild building. Nianta tells her, and the bank is here too, and all the big guild's assets are in it. Even though there are banks in other cities, the transport gates are disabled, so it's not easy at all to go to another city to withdraw money. And now Shiro can stop any adventurer in Akihabara from accessing their account. And also, any area or guild owner can control whether combat is allowed in their area or not. As for Hamelin, they need to control the new players, so they're definitely allowing combat in their hall. At the same time, Minori and the other girls try to escape from the guild, but the guard appears and pushes Minori to the ground. Tuya attacks him with a samurai skill that silences him. He fights him, and Minori casts a barrier that prevents damage on Tuya. The others escape, and when they get out the door, they find Shiryu. Tuya tries to get his sister out the door, but the guild leader Shitrade blocks them, and Tuya's health drops quickly. Minori tries to heal him. Tuya manages to get his sister out, and Shiro puts Shitrade and the guard on the blacklist, so they can't open the door or chase them. They meet Shiryu, but he gets a call and leaves quickly. Suddenly, Shitrade appears again and attacks Tuya. Akatsuki appears and frees Tuya from his grip and says to Shiro, sorry, I forgot someone named Shitrade. Add him to the blacklist. Shitrade is teleported outside the cathedral, and Natsuga catches him. At the same time, Sujuru tells Shiro, you're blackmailing us like this. He tells them, I have two goals. First, to restore everyone's lives in the city, and second, to create laws that protect the city's people. And those are two goals no one will oppose. Isaac tells him, if you're serious, then tell us what exactly Log Horizon's plan is. Marielle tells them, the secret to making food with real flavor, I'll reveal it to you now. The trick is to get natural ingredients and cook them like we do in the real world. And the person cooking must have the cook skill. If their skill level isn't high enough, they'll fail. Michitaka tells them, in collaboration with Roderick the Merchants Guild and Shopping District 8, we created a model for a steam engine. Shiro tells them, that means the secret I learned about cooking isn't limited to food. Back when Elder Tale was just a game, there was no steam engine. But a player with enough crafting skills can take materials from this world and, without using the command menu, invent things that don't even exist in this world. And that means there will be increasing demand for new products, and buying them will require earning money, which will keep the economy going. Michitaka says, with the largest industrial guilds, will support the Round Table Conference. Shiro says, one of the reasons the city feels lifeless is despair. But another issue is that people have nothing to do, and surviving in this world requires a small amount of money, and to earn money and industrial resources, activities like hunting will be essential, which gives combat guilds more work as guards. The next problem is safety. The rules don't need to be too strict. If you consider conflict over regions and hunting areas, then we should ban player killing. Why don't we prohibit killing players in low-level zones around Akihabara? Ainz says, there's no real benefit to killing players under level 50 anyway. Shiro says, the next issue is human rights. Since death isn't possible, kidnapping and imprisonment are even more serious crimes, and joining or leaving a guild is a personal freedom. My final proposal is that these rights shouldn't apply only to us adventurers, they should apply to the people of the land too. This place isn't the Elder Tale world we knew, and the cooking and inventions prove that. The people of the land are the original inhabitants and we are the outsiders, and each of them has their own personality, fears, and dreams. Isaac tells him, what kind of nonsense are you saying? Shiro asks him, have you ever spoken to the people of the land before? He answers, why would I? Marielle says, Crescent Moon's customers aren't just adventurers. Many people of the land come to us because they want to eat delicious food. Shiro says, many people of the land work in the market or the guild building, and we wouldn't survive without them. But without us, the people of the land could still live on. If we don't control ourselves, our relationship with them could be damaged permanently. Krusty asks him, are you saying a war could break out between us and them? He says, that depends on how the Round Table thinks. Then he stands and says, we, DDD, support the founder of the Round Table and will participate. Sujuru says, so will the caravan, and the others agree and say, we're with you. After a week, they begin educating the rest of the adventurers on what was discussed in the conference, and they hold a big celebration for the success of the conference. Marielle tells Henrietta, Hamelin disbanded after Shiro blocked them from entering the guild building. They were trapped for a while in their guild hall, then realized they could use Call of Home and the return spell to exit through the gate, and some of them got out by killing themselves to be revived at the cathedral. Either way, they can't use the guild building anymore, and all their members left the city, and all the children who escaped from Hamelin want to join us, so we had to move to a bigger hall to fit them. At the same time, Shiro and the guild members are moving their belongings and setting up their guild hall, and Shiro notices a strange person in the city. Meanwhile, Krusty's assistant tells him, just as I expected, I've seen many of them sneaking into the city. Shiro said the one who'll decide whether we go to war with the people of the land is the Round Table, but I think the people of the land will decide that. He says, it seems they've already started making their move. What are you going to do? Glass's villain. At sunset, Toya and Minori come to Shiro and say, we came to join your guild and learn. He tells them, we, Log Horizon, welcome you. At night, we see the people who had been watching Akihabara standing behind their king, Sergiat, and the maid enters and tells him, I've brought Linesia. The next day, the king's envoy arrives in Akihabara, and all the people of the land bow to him. He says, I am an envoy from King Sergiat, the High Lord of Eastal, the League of Free Cities. I request a meeting with the leader of the Round Table. Shiro says to himself, the envoy's name is Yamato in Elder Tale, and it was divided into 5 different regions. The League of Free Cities is an alliance formed by the princes of Eastern Japan. They want to communicate with us and are requesting our participation in the Lord's meeting next month. He's with Krusty, who tells him, the people of the land must clearly understand who the Round Table is. I was expecting this move from them, and they said they're ready to grant us noble titles. If we attend, we'll be able to make contact with the people of the land and learn things we never knew about this world. Krusty asks him, and the downsides? He tells him, there's a chance we'll get caught up in their politics, and if we don't participate, we'll lose the chance to gain valuable information. Krusty asks him, is there a chance of war with them? He tells him, no, and in general, that possibility has become much weaker. After that, they hold a conference and explain what happened to the other members of the Round Table and choose who will go to the Lord's meeting, Krusty, Michitaka, Akatsuki, and Henrietta. On their way, Shiro tells them, back when Elder Tale was just a game, the people of the land were assigned to be much weaker than adventurers, and there were exceptions like the Ancients and the Royal Guard, but overall their levels and combat abilities have started to rise. Michitaka tells him, and when an adventurer dies, they're revived at the cathedral, but the people of the land die for real. He tells him, but since the apocalypse, the people of the land have changed. For example, they've started getting magic bags as a reward from just one normal quest that anyone could do, while on the other hand, some new players still haven't received a magic bag yet. At the same time, Marielle and Minori are gathering information about the people of the land. Shiro and the others arrive at the Eternal Ice Palace and enter the welcome party held by the king. He tells them, thank you for coming. I am Sergiat Cowan, coordinator of the League of Free Cities and lord of the largest eastern city, the capital of Manhwa, and the most influential person in Eastal. Krusty sits and talks with him, and the king tells him, I understand, these guilds are like the noble class, but without their own lands, and the strong guilds ruled the city through discussion and dialogue. That's similar to how things work in Eastal but on a smaller scale. Shiro notices that the people are looking at them strangely and seem curious about them, just as the adventurers are curious about the people of the land. At the same time, Natsugu and Marielle are with the new players at a training camp and tell them, tomorrow, the real training will begin in the fortified tower, but you'll go there on your own. And dungeons are abandoned places like forts and caves, and they are home to low-level monsters. The stronger monsters often act as guardians of treasure, and defeating them requires complex teamwork. At the same time, the king tells Shiro and the others that the conference will begin in 10 days, and it's a good chance for them to get acquainted. Then he tells Shiro, join the dance, everyone here is interested in you. So Shiro is forced to get up, and Henrietta saves the situation by dancing with him and quickly teaching him so he doesn't feel embarrassed. Everyone is impressed by them, and the people of the land start to feel less tense around them. The next day, Shiro and the other members of the Round Table are having breakfast, and he tells them, I have an idea of what the nobles are aiming for. Their first goal is to understand the scope of Akihabara and the ambitions of the Round Table. The second is to bring us to their side. At the same time, 2 people of the land are sitting in a room alone, and one of them tells the other, the May incident caused all of this. The adventurers call it the apocalypse, and until now, the adventurers of Akihabara have been nothing but unorganized rabble. It's better to deal with each one individually. And now the Round Table has been established, and they're trying to rule the city. The other replies, I just heard about the technological advancement moments ago. We need to bring them to our side as soon as possible. Shiro continues talking and says, they need our power, but they won't act like our subordinates. Most likely they'll grant a noble title to Krusty or to the Round Table itself, and we need to know what they're thinking. Your turn, Akatsuki, go spy. At the same time, the trainees arrive at the fortified tower in the forest of Lagranda. They split into groups, and Toya, Minori, and Sarara are on one team, along with a girl named Isuzu, a bard at level 24, and a mage named Rundelhouse Code at level 23. They enter the cave, and skeletons appear in front of them. Toya charges at them and breaks 2 of them, but one of the skeletons attacks him and reduces his HP. Sarara uses a healing technique and restores his HP, Rundel uses a fire technique and breaks several skeletons, and they are all surprised by his power. Suddenly, his weapon releases a musical shot on its own, So Isuzu says, "It worked, the Carol Round technique. If there's a mage in the party, I can automatically activate my attacks with them." An archer skeleton appears, and Tuya runs toward it, but then sees 5 more skeletons and charges at them. Rundell uses a fire technique to support Tuya, but all the skeletons attack him, reducing his HP, so they all run away from the skeletons. The next day, Princess Linesia watches Krusty having friendly matches with the knights of the people of the land. He tells her, "Can you give a reward to the strongest among us? And the reward is getting to escort you to the party tonight." The knights get really excited and fight hard, but Krusty ends up winning. At the same time, Tuya and the others keep running until they enter a room and lock it. They light a fire and sit in front of it, and Rundell is very upset because they're weak and ran away from low-level monsters. At night, Shiro meets Akatsuki and she tells him, "The people of the land see us as potential enemies because of our power." He tells her, "There's something else." She tells him, "They mentioned that they don't know where the Knights of Izumo are." Suddenly, they feel strong vibrations around them and a portal appears out of nowhere. A person steps out of it and says, "I am Reagan from Lake Mira, and I've come to speak with Shiro." He takes them to an old library and asks Shiro, "Isn't that a days and egg magic bag? I believe to make one, you need a purple flame crystal and the hide of a winged dragon." Shiro tells him, "That's right. I had the materials and asked someone to craft it for me," and thinks to himself, he knows the requirements for the level 45 quest, obtain a magic bag. Who is this man? Reagan tells him, "I'm sorry I called myself a mage. In truth, I'm a magic scholar." Shiro says, "Back when this was just a game, I heard that name in many quests and from a few city rumors." Reagan tells him, "Since I received the title from my lord, I haven't used it." Shiro asks him, "Is the title, Mage of Lake Mira, hereditary?" He tells him, "Yes. There are different types of magic that cover a wide range of areas. I specialize in studying world-class magic." The school of thought divided magic into levels: offensive magic, combat magic, operational magic, strategic magic, civil defense, continental magic, and world-class magic. Offensive magic refers to repeating a single attack, like sword duels or monster fighting. Combat magic can change the course of a single battle, like magic that can decide the fate of your enemies or allies. Operational magic can shift the course of 2 or 3 battles at once, and world-class magic can manipulate the very laws of the world. Shiro tells him, "I understand the concept, but does magic like that actually exist?" Reagan says, "To my knowledge, it has been used at least 3 times, a spell called World Fraction." Shiro asks him, "Is it a catastrophe?" He replies, "I brought you here hoping to hear information from you about this situation." Shiro tells him, "We don't know anything about the catastrophe, we need information." Reagan says, "I'll be glad to tell you everything I know." Shiro asks him, "Can you tell us when the world fraction was used?" He replies, "Specifically, 350 years ago, this world was more prosperous than now. There were 4 races living together: humans, demons, dwarves, and elves. The elves were magic inventors, and their power affected them. As a race, their ability to reproduce was very low, their city was small, and their monopoly on magic technology made the other races attack them in large numbers." Shiro asks him, "Am I a half-elf?" He replies, "The elves were treated as slaves throughout the world, their children are half-elves." In any case, the elven kingdom was destroyed, and after that, the 6 Loking princesses were born. 6 who didn't know each other and didn't get along, yet all swore revenge at the same time. Some sought their power, some led the remaining elves, and the world fell into chaos once again. But in the end, the 6 were on the brink of death, and that's when the world fraction was used for the first time. The techniques and principles were highly secretive, and the magic created half-humans. The repeated wars reduced the population. It seems those souls were used to create the half-humans, and the world entered a dark era. Humanity defeated the Loking, but they had already succeeded in their revenge. And to defeat the half-humans, humanity used elven secrets to create new races like the half-humans, catfolk, wolf-fangs, and the fox-tailed. Shiro says, "The races are the strongest NPCs, with power equal to adventurers, and in the game's story, they're considered legendary heroes." Reagan tells him, "We'll talk about the races another time. What matters now is the souls. The issue of souls is what concerns us." Even so, humanity was powerless to stop its decline toward ruin. No matter how many times the half-humans were defeated, they would regenerate, meaning there was no way to truly defeat them. Shiro thinks to himself, if players clear all the monsters in a region, there will be nothing left for other players, but after a while, the monsters respawn. That's the respawn cycle. Reagan continues, 60 years after the first world fraction, humanity was trapped in endless wars with the half-humans. Then the celestial summoning was used, and the king's envoys appeared. That was 240 years ago, during the second world fraction, and the adventurers appeared. Shiro tells him, thinking about all this, "Why are you talking to me? There are other people in the round table." He replies, "You're an enchanter, so I figured you'd have a better understanding of what's going on. Your name first appeared in our history books 98 years ago, at the time you were crafting your loadout, which proves you're an enchanter." Shiro is shocked and thinks to himself, in the game Elder Tale, time moves 12 times faster than the real world. 1 day in the game equals 2 hours in real time. 98 years in this world would be 8 years in our world. And that's when I started playing Elder Tale. 240 years ago when the first adventurers appeared in this world would be 20 years in our time. And that was the beginning of Elder Tale's open beta. The next day, the round table members meet, and Krusty's assistant says, "Some lords want the forces." Shiro tells her, "Yes, they want to share in our technology and trade deals. And they already knew everything about the steam engine." She tells him, "We know they have spies in Akihabara." He tells her, "Knowing that doesn't mean they'll be able to build one easily." After that, Akatsuki finds Shiro sitting alone, and asks him, "Are you thinking about what happened yesterday?" He tells her, "Yeah," and remembers when he asked Reigen, "What's the theory of the soul you mentioned?" Reigen tells him, "The inner energy that drives humans and demi-humans is called the anima, and it's made of two distinct energies, the soul and the mind. The mind is the energy that drives thought and affects things like magic. It's called MP or magic points. The soul is the energy that moves the body. It's called HP or health points, also known as ki. When someone is defeated in battle, they can't move, but their mind is still intact. However, the soul and the mind are separated, and the mind becomes trapped in darkness. That's because the information flowing from the body to the brain, like light perception, gets cut off. Then, the body and soul disperse. This process is called anima dissolution. Resurrection magic is used on corpses in this state, and the anima that vanished into the air gathers and gets rebuilt. The information needed for reconstruction is calculated based on the remaining data in the corpse, and the cathedral supplies any missing energy. Still, the pre-death data can't be fully restored, which is why you lose experience points upon revival. You could say that data loss is inevitable. And of course, if the body is completely destroyed, resurrection becomes impossible. The people of the land die because of that. So Shiro asks him, if resurrection magic is used before that happens, would it also work on people of the land? Reigen says, yes. In the case of adventurers, once anima dissolution is complete, the body breaks down into particles, and the soul uses its power to transfer the adventurer to the cathedral where they're revived. It's a system similar to what demi-humans use. Of course, all this is just a theory that my teacher and I were researching. Shiro asks him, do demi-humans retain memories from before they died? He tells him, I don't know. A person's personality and consciousness are stored in the soul as data, while memories are stored in the brain. The body is definitely anima. So Shiro asks, then memories are inside the anima and the body, right? Does that mean information gets damaged when the body is rebuilt? He tells him, yes. The souls of the demi-humans were distorted by the curse of the first world fraction. Even if their memories still exist, they might not realize those memories are their own. Akatsuki tells him, I didn't understand anything you just said. So he tells her, the person sitting in front of the computer playing Elder Tale is the mind, or in other words, the soul. The character inside the screen is the body, or the anima. The player definitely has the memories of what happened in the game, but the character has the experience points, the level, and the other data. Until now, if the character died, they would lose experience points in the game, but in the real world, nothing would change. But now, our soul and anima have become one in the same place, the game character, our experience points, and our memories are all merged. If we die, we lose our experience points along with our memories. I don't know how much of our memories we've already lost since we came to this world. A lot of people have died and no one seemed alarmed. Anyway, we're not going to tell anyone about this, at least for a while. At the same time, Minori suggests to the others that each of them should explain their skills and techniques so they can cooperate better. After that, they go back to the skeletons, and Tuya starts by drawing their attention. Isuzu charges in and attacks the archer, and she and Minori corner him, but he knocks Minori to the ground and fires an arrow at Rudy, who blocks it. He casts Thunder Room on the archer, and Tuya engages with the rest of the skeletons, causing his health to drop. Sarara uses her healing technique and restores his HP, Isuzu uses her Victory Chime technique and paralyzes them, and Rudy launches his volcano balls at them, then uses Frozen Wind, shattering them all. With that, they successfully defeat them. At night, Isuzu tries to add Rudy to her friend list, but the game rejects it, and Rudy becomes nervous. The next day, fish-like monsters called Sawajin appear and chase everyone on the beach. Marielle tries to help them, but they surround her, and Shuria rescues her. Then Kara, a member of the Caravan Guild, joins the battle, and Shikara and Shuria help her. At the same time, Natsugu is in the forest and notices that the monster spawn rate in the area has increased unnaturally. Nianta is watching from above, riding on the back of a hawk. He later goes to Natsugu and tells him, I saw an entire army of monsters heading this way from above. I saw goblins and demon beasts, and they're likely moving west and southwest. Minori, Tuya, and the rest of the kids enter and Minori tells him, we can contact members of the Crescent Moon Guild. Natsugu tells them, and I'll inform Shiro about what's happening. Sujira's assistant initiates a group call with everyone, and Shiro tells them, as for the round table, it's been split apart, and I took an unofficial step to hold a thought conference. I know it's a bit inconvenient, but I've assigned people at every site in succession, so we can make this conversation real soon. In the future, I plan to develop this network further so everyone can be aware of the situation. This morning, there were attacks from different demi-human tribes on the Zantleaf Peninsula. Shiryu tells them, on the coast, there are at least hundreds of Sawajin. Shiro says, in the forest, there's a massive force made up of goblins, at least 10,000. I think the reason for this invasion is the return of the Goblin King. In the game, this was a regular event. The Goblin Fortress of the Seven Fall lies deep inside the forests of the Oyu region. Twice a year, a Goblin King is crowned there. Before that happens, players have 1 week to defeat him. If they succeed before the coronation, they get rare materials. Michitaka says, as I recall, if you fail to defeat the Goblin King within that week, the king is crowned, and that unites the surrounding tribes, making the goblins of Numeros several times larger. Sujuru says, since the apocalypse, we've been busy making the world livable and leveling up. Does that mean the goblins are at full strength, Shiro? He tells him, we must assume the Goblin King, his guards, and his army are the strongest we've ever seen. My biggest concern is how large the united 6 tribes will be. Krusty says, if we gather all the adventurers of Akihabara, we can wipe them out. He replies, the problem is the lords of Eastal. Unfortunately, they're not strong enough to handle this situation. Isaac says, I don't care. They didn't ask for help. Henrietta says, back when this was just a game, the strongest army was the Knights of Izumo, heroes born from the people of the land, even stronger than adventurers. Michitaka says, it said that there were 13 teams around the world, and they always took part in battles that determined the fate of the world. The Knights of Izumo were like the guardians of Yamato. Shiro tells them, but so far, no one is sure if they actually exist. Krusty says, either way, a major battle is unavoidable. At least some people will die. At sunset, Natsugu and Marielle see the torches of the goblin army from afar. At night, Nianta tells them, the goblins plan to attack the city of Choshire, and it's definitely not the same army I saw this morning. Natsugu says, the main force is coming from the north. Nianta says, I think they're planning to take food from Choshire. Marielle says, that city doesn't have any walls. Minori says, we can't leave them in that situation. Isuzu tells them, don't be reckless. This isn't training, and we still don't know how strong the enemy is. Rudy says, I understand that, but the people in the city don't know that the goblins are on their way. At the same time, Sujuru and his team move out to help. Meanwhile, Shiro tells the others about death in this world and all the information he's learned about it. Krusty says, I see. That explains why I've lost memories. We, the DDD, are a combat guild, and before the rebuilding of Akihabara, we went through intense combat training to adapt to the fights in this world. I've died several times. Shiro asks him, what memories did you lose exactly, and how much? He tells him, I'm not sure, but most of them are about the previous world we came from. I've died twice, and I know my memory is better than most people's, but I can't remember the name or face of the cat I had. I think a few deaths aren't enough to cause real harm, and even a few dozen deaths might not cause noticeable damage in daily life. Henrietta tells him, even if you say that, you're still losing your memories, and that's something truly painful. At the same time, Rudy sees smoke from one of the villages, so they rush there, but it's already too late, and the village has been destroyed. Tuya sees 2 goblins holding a doll, and he remembers the girl who used to cheer for them and had that same doll in her hand. He gets angry and charges at them. Rudy helps him, and together they defeat them. After that, Minori is up in a tree, observing the goblins' movements while the others are setting a trap to intercept the goblins before they reach the city. At the same time, there's a meeting between the people of the land and the king, and one of them says that the goblin attack is a conspiracy by the adventurers. Krendat responds and tells him, I think accusing the adventurers is an exaggeration. The king tells them, we don't know why, but the Knights of Izumo are gone. At the same time, Tuya arrives after luring a number of goblins, Sarah restrains them, and the others defeat them. Shiro says to Krusty and Michitaka, if we can't rely on the Knights of Izumo, we're going to be their only option. As long as we live in this world, we can't avoid its wars, so we have to agree on our roles, the 3 of us. Later, Lanesia is alone in the garden and overhears 2 nobles leaving the meeting. One of them says, there's no other choice but to sacrifice the city of Tsukuba. Its defense is solid and should hold for a while. The other responds, but we'll lose several fields, remote villages, and more. In the worst-case scenario, most of the population. He continues, everyone should consider asking the adventurers to handle this. The first one says, yes, if they die, they come back to life, but we'll owe them a huge debt. The second says, that's why we avoid showing weakness in front of them. We have to extract information from them no matter what, and we must never let them know the Knights of Izumo are gone. We have to use them as our shield, even if we have to deceive them. After that, Shiro and the others are summoned to a meeting with the people of the land. Michitaka tells Shiro, we're not making any progress with this discussion. Shiro tells him, they're probably waiting for us to say the important part. So Shiro stands and says, if you know the status of the Knights of Izumo, tell us. The people of the land get nervous, and one of them says, we can't summon the knights for a war like this. More importantly, I have a question for the round table. Why didn't you act despite the threat? Michitaka says, I believe the purpose of this conference is to hear opinions, or do you just want us to listen to you? One of them replies, I've heard the knights of Akihabara are unmatched in combat. Michitaka tells him, if by knights you mean the forces ready to fight in Akihabara, then we don't have anything like that. A person of the land asks, then why do you adventurers exist? Isn't it your duty to fight for the world? You're immortal, so you should fight on our behalf. Michitaka gets angry, breaks the table, and says, first of all, we're not from the free cities, and that's why you didn't summon us to the previous conference. I don't know what scheme you've been planning, but we have no obligation to accept your demands. Krendat tells him, we're certainly not scheming just to make Akihabara send its forces. Shiro tells him, then it was Lord Kariva who asked for Akihabara's help on his own and not on behalf of the Free Cities Alliance. Kariva responds, are you saying I'm acting for my own interests? One of the people of the land interrupts and says, what you said is true, but the fact is, many of us in the alliance feel the same. Will the proud warriors of Akihabara stand aside while Yamato faces danger? Michitaka tells him, we're not cats or dogs for you to say, you're immortal, so go fight. Anyone who believes those words and sends their allies into battle can never earn the trust of the people of Akihabara. Suddenly, Lanesia enters and says to Krusty, I'm going to Akihabara now, come with me. He's surprised and asks her, why? She tells him, to gather a volunteer army. He tells her, I think that will cause a lot of problems. She replies, you said it yourself. Adventurers are free. I'm foolish and not good with politics, but when you ask someone for something, you need to show them respect. And that's why I believe we shouldn't hide something like the fact that the Knights of Izumo are missing. All the people of the land get furious because she revealed the information they were trying to conceal. Krusty tells her, you've done something great. What are you thinking of doing? Her grandfather silences the other nobles and tells her, go on. She tells the nobles, adventurers are freer than us, and we are weaker than them. But that doesn't mean we have the right to use our weakness aggressively, and we have no right to exploit that weakness and use these people as tools. I'm going to Akihabara to ask the adventurers directly, and if any of them agree to help us, why should we stop them? Krusty and the others escort the princess and head toward Akihabara. When they arrive, Shiro gathers all the adventurers and tells them, an army of up to 20,000 goblins has appeared in the northern Kanto hills, and it's threatening the Eastal League of Free Cities. Even if we leave them alone, Eastal won't be destroyed, but they'll lose 30% of their forces. The princess thinks to herself, the adventurers understand tactics and can read maps. Where did they get this intelligence if they're just soldiers? Does this mean they're smarter than our officers and court judges? Then what exactly are nobles, retainers, and servants supposed to be? Shiro continues, for us, defending Akihabara from the goblins isn't difficult. And if all we care about is ourselves, we won't need to save Eastal, nor will we gain anything from doing so. But with that said, there's someone I'd like you to hear from. The princess steps forward and says, I am one of the people of the land, leader of the Eastal League of Free Cities, granddaughter of Duke Cowan. My name is Lanesia Elarte Cowan, and today I've come to ask you for a request. As Shiro told you, Yamato is in danger, and our guardians, the Knights of Izumo, have vanished, leaving us to face the threat alone. Until now, we haven't decided what path to take, but it is our duty to protect our cities. We intended to force the Round Table to fight for us, because adventurers are immortal, and I'm very sorry for that. I'm sorry that I've come here to make a selfish request. Neither I nor Eastal has anything we can offer you. A flourishing city like Akihabara, I can't imagine we could give you anything greater than that. There's no price we can pay that equals your freedom. But as a daughter of House Cowan, it is my duty to protect the city of Manhwa. I am a coward, lazy, and a decoration who only thinks of herself, but I will fight. So, if you don't mind, is there anyone here willing to come with me? I want to protect the freedom of the adventurers. So please, help me. All the adventurers lower their heads, agreeing to help her, and they begin chanting her name. Krusty tells them, we'll now begin our first military campaign. The condition is that you must be over level 40 for this mission. Anyone who wants to volunteer, raise your hand. I will command the army, Krusty. Shiro says, and I'll serve as strategist. First, we'll form assault battalions. In 50 minutes, I'll contact you via telepathy. That's everything. Dismissed. Prepare for battle. The next day, Shiro prepares the steamship to transport the adventurers faster. At the same time, Minori's team has successfully kept the city of Choshire safe and returned to Marielle and the others. The adventurers reach the main goblin battalion and begin attacking with full force. Krusty launches an extremely powerful strike that wipes out a large number of goblins. Two giants appear, one at level 80 and the other at 72. Krusty signals the mages to target the small goblins so he can fight the giants, then charges the first giant and cuts it down. At the same time, Karashin tells Shiro this telepathic network was a brilliant idea. Each squad has a leader, they can all communicate with each other, and they're in contact with headquarters, so they can coordinate. Shiro says, the problem is the city of Choshire. Winning itself won't be hard. But after the battle, the goblins will scatter in all directions and might attack people of the land villages. To prevent that, we've been surrounding the goblins during our attacks and driving them into a designated point. But we have to protect Choshire City, or the siege will collapse. Choshire is the critical point of this plan. Akatsuki asks Shiro, aren't you going to the battlefield? He tells her, I want to go, but I can't until the factions are fully deployed. Meanwhile in Choshire, the savage fish monsters are approaching, and their numbers are greater than expected. Tuya tells Marielle, let's attack before they reach the city. Marielle gives the order to charge. They contact Shiro telepathically and tell him the Sawajin are approaching, and there are 60 adventurers against 1,000 Sawajin. Shiro tells them, alert the ship to speed up. The Sawajin attack, and the adventurers do their best to hold them off. Nyanta says to Natsugu, hold on until we recover our magic points. Tuya and his team move forward to face them. Nyanta says, Tuya has become strong. The same goes for Serera. In the past, she only focused on healing, but now she's using offensive moves. Isuzu and Rudy support each other and understand one another's thoughts. And Minori observes the bigger picture during battle, directs her friends, and creates tactics. Natsugu tells him that fighting style makes her like Shiro. He used to fight by looking 30 seconds into the future. He tracked the MP of his allies in different classes, which is impossible without viewing the battle from a distance. Yet he could track it, and also the enemy's state, to predict the condition of the battle after 30 seconds and make everything go according to his will. That's how Shiro controls the fight. Suddenly they hear a sound. Natsugu says, that sound. I remember it. It's the magical alarm attack of Shrieker Echo. Minori says, I asked Serera to set it as a warning in case the goblins came back. Tuya and his team rush toward the sound. Shuria tries to stop them, but Minori says, we'll be able to handle the goblins, and they leave. When they find the goblins, Rudy casts magic to draw their attention. Isuzu uses a technique to slow them down, and they defeat them. They hear the Shrieker echo again from the direction of the city and head there to defeat more goblins. But Rudy becomes exhausted. Suddenly, it starts to rain, and a level 32 wolf appears with several goblins, and they engage in battle. Serera restrains one of the wolves but can't stop the second one. The wolf charges at them, so Minori activates a protective barrier for 30 seconds and says to Serera, focus on the one you're restraining, I'll handle healing. She tells Tuya, take one of the ghouls and the wolves. Rudy and Isuzu attack the remaining wolf and ghouls. They defeat the ghouls, but the wolves attack Tuya and bring his HP down. Serera tries to restore it but can't. There are still 10 seconds until she can activate the barrier again, but Tuya won't last that long. She feels helpless, unsure what to do. Rudy runs to one of the wolves and grabs it, and the wolf slams him into the edge of the bridge and runs off with him. Rudy wraps his hand around the wolf's mouth and detonates it, but he collapses unconscious. They rush to save him. Minori finds him on the verge of death. Serera uses resurrection magic, but it fails. Minori tries and fails too. Isuzu says, I'm sorry, but Rudy is one of the people of the land. Everyone is shocked. She remembers when she tried to add him as a friend and it failed. She had asked him, are you from the people of the land? And he said, can you keep it a secret? She tells them, his dream was to become an adventurer, so he trained hard and was so desperate. Serera tries the healing spell on him again and says, I feel a faint response, but she still can't revive him. Minori contacts Shiro and says, please, help us. Shiro says to the communication unit, contact Karashin. He'll be in charge in my place for now, and quickly rushes out to summon his hawk. He tells Minori, have Isuzu use her mana recovery song for 150 seconds, then Serera uses the resurrection spell for 150 seconds, and Tuya watches the enemies. He recalls Reagan's words about reviving the people of the land, then remembers what he said about world-class magic. He tells Akatsuki, take command, and pulls a small bottle out of his bag. At the same time, the steamship arrives and the Sawajin attack it. Shiro lands on the ground and tells Akatsuki, keep watch and don't let anyone near this place. No monsters, no players. He reaches Rudy and tells them, I'm going to use a new kind of magic. Don't tell anyone about it. If you disagree, walk away. They all agree. Shiro begins to draw out their experience points and channels them into Rudy. He tells Minori, use the resurrection technique, and to Serera, keep healing him. He pulls out a vessel called the Fragrance of Revival and says, this will turn your ally into a zombie for 3 minutes. We'll use it to force the connection between mind and body for 3 minutes. Rudy wakes up, and when he sees them crying, he says, I died, didn't I? Don't be sad. Death is a natural outcome of battle, even if I wanted to be an adventurer. Shiro tells him, I reject those who give up so easily. What did you learn in the dungeons? It wasn't just strategies and planning. You had to learn how to insist on staying alive. Rudy asks him, what do you want me to do then? Shiro pulls out a paper and says, listen, this is a contract from me, Shiro, leader of the Log Horizon Guild. The contract with Rundell House Code includes the following. First, it will take effect from the date and time he signs it. Second, as a guild member, Rundell will complete his tasks in a way that fits his circumstances. Third, the guild will provide all the support he needs to complete his duties, including granting him the status of adventurer. Fourth, this contract is entered into with mutual consent by both parties. Minori thinks to herself, this kind of magic didn't exist back when Elder Tale was just a game. Shiro tells him, I've signed it. Now it's your turn. But this contract is risky. It'll change the race you've had up until now. We adventurers are new to this world, and we don't know what kind of misfortunes it holds for us. And I don't think adventurers deserve all the glory you attach to them. Rudy tells him, all I want is to become an adventurer and help the people who ask for my help. Isuzu helps him sign it, and suddenly a light shines from him. Shiro tells him, you'll have to die once, and then be revived at the cathedral. At the same time, Krusty and his army encounter a pack of wolves, and a goblin appears with a level higher than the others. Krusty gives the signal to attack. They slaughter the wolves and goblins. Krusty summons a creature that can only be summoned by someone above level 86, the Phoenix of Flame, and it destroys the entire valley. Then he charges the high-level goblin and finishes him off. The next day, they hold a celebration to mark the defeat of the Goblin Raid and their confinement in the valley. Peace and trade treaties are signed between the Round Table and Eastal. During the celebration, Isuzu asks Marielle if she can join the Log Horizon Guild. Marielle tells her, I'll talk to Shiro. At the same time, Shiro steps outside and gets a call from Oshima. Shiro asks him, what's the situation, and then suddenly exclaims, what? In the west? The Demon Festival from the Suzaku Gate, and quickly hurries off. On his way, he hears a girl telling a group of children the story of the battle. She says, one day, the Monster King appeared with his army. He burned villages and destroyed castles, and the heroes defeated the monsters one by one. But during the battle, one of them died. Shiro is surprised and stops to listen. One of the kids asks, weren't they immortal? She replies, the boy who died was one of the people of the land, even though he dreamed of becoming one of the heroes. The heroes begged a certain mage to save him, but even their mage didn't know how to bring back someone from the people of the land. So he created a new kind of magic that didn't exist in this world. And after that, the boy from the people of the land became a hero just like them. She adds, we'll continue the story next time, and quickly walks away and disappears. Shiro goes to see Reagan, who tells him, congratulations on creating a new type of magic. Shiro asks him, you noticed? Reagan tells him, a month ago, I sensed a strange magic from the east. I saw light filling the sky. It was world-class magic, so I assumed it was you. Shiro says, it was thanks to you. Reagan continues, by the way, I recently sensed powerful magic from the western sky. It seems someone else has created a new type of magic too. Shiro says, I think it's Minami. Most of the people from Shibuya went to Akiba. Susukino is still in ruins. We sent some soldiers to help those who want to leave, but around 200 adventurers are still there imposing rule over the people of the land. And Minami. Then he asks Reagan, Yamato used to be a unified country, right? Reagan says, yes. Shiro replies, since we last spoke, I studied the situation. As I recall, the unified Westerland Empire was swallowed during the wars against the demi-humans and the Loking, and they all died. But House Cowan is a distant branch of that empire. Reagan says, yes, just like how the Westerland Empire governs the western region. Shiro says, within its territory lies the adventurer city Minami. I've heard that a certain guild there is setting the rules. Do you know that the Demon Festival from the Suzaku Gate happened in the west? Reagan tells him, yes, even though the eastern nobles haven't noticed yet. Shiro says, that festival is similar to the return of the Goblin King and happens periodically. Reagan tells him, it seems the Knights of Izumo are involved too. The next day, Minori goes to Karishin in his office and says, can I help you? She finds a pile of mixed papers that need to be sorted and some calculations that need to be reviewed, so she tells him, I'll start organizing them. He says, I didn't know your subclass is scribe, and she replies, no, I'm an apprentice. She remembers when she told Shiro, I want to change my subclass, but I don't know what to pick. And he told her, what about the apprentice class? It lets you become someone's apprentice and copy their skills. But there's a limit to each skill you learn. You can only gain skills based on your level. However, you'll level up faster, and when you change your subclass later, you'll still keep the skills you learned. She told him, I accept. Can I be your student? She finishes Karishin's clerical work quickly, and he's impressed. She says, after all, I'm Shiro's student. At the same time, Krusty enters to talk with Isaac and tells him, I didn't expect all these people of the land to come here. Isaac says, I'm sure they love the festivals here. Still, it's hard to believe the villain Shiro created all this prosperity in Akihabara. I once asked him to join my guild after the tea party disbanded and he was alone. I saw how sharp he was when he was our guest, but he let me down. He said, I don't think I'm worthy of that offer. And after that, I lost interest. I don't care about someone who doesn't know how to kill enemies. Krusty replies, after the catastrophe, he matured enough to influence the entire city. I think he functions best when everything around him is falling apart. Isaac asks, what do you mean? Krusty says, I don't think he's a strategist at all. In hard times, you have to do whatever you can. And he's someone who can do anything. He's as strong as anyone I've ever seen. He's like a cursed sword. Isaac replies, I see. And now that cursed sword is buried in paperwork, who knows when he'll return? At the same time, Shiro, Marielle, and Akatsuki are in a shop buying clothes. Shiro hears someone yelling at one of the shopkeepers. Meanwhile, Minori notices a problem in the numbers on some of the documents. Shiro walks over to the man and tells him, this is store policy. Please understand and leave. The man says, I've got nothing to say to a kid like you, and throws a punch, but Shiro stops his fist with a finger and says, you're leaving, right? The man walks off, and Shiro thinks to himself, that was strange. Why did he leave so easily? He tells Akatsuki, the place is getting more crowded than we expected. The people of the land are acting weird, but I can't figure it out. I can't grasp a clear picture of what's going on. Then he gets a call from Minori. She tells him, I reviewed some documents and found overlapping papers, and some of the calculations are wrong. Most of them came from the people of the land. Shiro replies, got it. Akatsuki, go to Isaac and get a safety report. I think there's an attack on Akihabara. I'll head to my office in the guild building. At the same time, a ship is heading toward Akihabara. Someone aboard says, 30 minutes until we arrive. Get ready to disembark, Mr. Mavros. When Shiro arrives at the office, he tells Henrietta and Akatsuki, all these changes happened in just 2 days. Their method is to infiltrate the city, cause minor disturbances, and spread baseless rumors. Their goal is most likely to destroy the reputation of the Round Table. At the same time, Lanesia says to her maid, why has Mr. Marv shown up now? Is it related to the unrest in the West? The maid replies, I'm not sure, but either way, he's not someone we can simply ignore. The princess says, but I have a bad feeling about him, and the maid responds, in any case, the goal of the Twilight Banquet is to strengthen the friendship with the adventurers. Meanwhile, Shiro tells Henrietta, I received word from Isaac that a high-ranking noble and merchant from the west named Mr. Marves has arrived. I believe the people of the land are behind this attack. She asks, why? He replies, in Elder Tale, there's never been a quest with the goal of stripping someone of power. And that's not something adventurers would even consider. She asks, do you think Mr. Marves is trying to ruin the Round Table's reputation? He says, given the huge number of people of the land involved, there's a high chance someone important is orchestrating things. She asks, why would he want to destroy the Round Table's reputation? He replies, it's a step in his plan. He's likely trying to benefit from the confusion between both parties and interfere in the treaty so Eastal won't monopolize the gains. Shiro thinks to himself, why? The more I think, the less I understand the enemy. There has to be logic behind this. There must be meaning behind this chaos. Traffic disruptions, spreading rumors, starting fights, deliberately providing false data, tax fraud, attempted bribery, distracting officials from handling complaints. Is this a multi-layered attack? Or are they doing all of this with no real plan? Impossible. What are they thinking? These are improvised attacks. They provoke conflict instantly. I hate enemies like this. Afterward, he goes to sit alone in the forest and says to himself, I don't know what to do, but if I don't act within an hour, people will start to notice. How do you fight a chaotic enemy? At the same time, the adventurers are at the Twilight Banquet, which is meant to strengthen relations with them. The princess's maid tells her, Mr. Marves has arrived, and his ship is full of goods. Mr. Marves enters with his soldiers. The princess greets him, and he says, it seems like order no longer exists. Nobles attending the same banquet as commoners. Is this the boldness of the Eastern people? An adventurer approaches him with a cup of juice and says, please, have some, but Marves pushes him to the ground and says, stay back, you filthy rat. The maid and the princess apologize to him. The princess tries to keep her composure and not act recklessly, and she pours a drink for Marves. He grabs her hair and smells it. The adventurers get angry, and Marves' soldiers say, are you ready to fight? Suddenly, Shiro enters and walks over to the princess and says, I've come to take you with me. Marves asks, and who are you? When Shiro enters the room, he says to Marves, I'm the leader of one of the Round Table guilds. Michiataka enters next and says, I'm from the Marine Agency Guild. Then Krusty enters and says, and I'm from DDD. Marv says, what do you all want? I'm having an important discussion with the princess. Shiro tells him, that's why we're here. We heard the princess did something wrong, that she was asked to prepare storage for you but lost your message or forgot. Whatever happened, I was told most of your cargo contains food and spices, which will spoil quickly if left outside. Marv asks, and you'll take responsibility for this? Krusty tells him, actually, your message was received by the round table. Marv is surprised and asks, then is the storage ready? My ship is carrying 500 tons of cargo. Are you telling me you can't prepare storage for it? Michiataka replies, the Marine Agency's warehouses can easily handle up to 5,000 tons. Marv gets visibly upset. Krusty says, what's wrong? You don't actually have any cargo, do you? This is all just a scheme against the princess. A noble from the Westerland Empire wouldn't do something like this, right? Marv storms out, furious. Afterward, they escort the princess to Akihabara, where a huge celebration is held. Meanwhile, Shiro goes to find Oshima but doesn't see him. Instead, the girl who had been telling the children the story about the Goblin War responds and says, Oshima won't be here today. You're Shiro, right? I'm Dariella, one of the people of the land, and a traveling writer. Oshima's busy and couldn't come, so I'll tell you about Minami instead. Shiro says, I've never heard of this kind of magic. What kind of disguise is this, Nureha? She laughs, reveals her true form, and asks, how did you know, Shiro? You're not supposed to recognize the magic veil of information control, but I'm happy you know my name. He replies, the ruler of the West. She says, I'm not the ruler. He responds, that doesn't change the fact that you're the leader. Even if you left the responsibility to Intix, Mizufa, and Zeldis, the guild managing the Western City is the Tea Party Laboratory, and its leader who rules the West is Nureha. Not long after the catastrophe, you earned the favor of nobles from Minami, even had their guards serve you. Then you used their wealth to buy the castle. That gave you immense authority, including power over the lives of adventurers. After that, you announced that all adventurers in Minami must join the Tea Party Laboratory. I was told it's a city with only one guild, meaning there's no guild discrimination. So, what brought you to Akihabara? She tells him, I came to invite you to join the Tea Party Laboratory. I want you beside me, to walk with me, to protect me. He asks, why? She says, like I said, I want you. I've known about you for a long time and everything you've done, including your new magic. He says, I could say the same about you. They're still unstable, but you've restarted the teleport gates between cities, haven't you? She says, you really do know everything. He asks, was it your order to cut off all news from the West? She says, that was Mizufa's doing. He asks, and the disruptions targeting the round table? She says, that was one of Marv's ideas that got out of hand, but you handled it brilliantly. He tells her, you knew everything and didn't do anything. She puts her hand over his mouth and says, won't you come with me? He replies, nothing you've said is true. She says, if I told you the truth, would you come with me? He says, I can't say until you tell me. She tells him, I can assure you, the truth isn't pretty. I was an ordinary woman, someone who never succeeded, a nobody. No one remembered my name, no one cared if I existed. Then I discovered Elder Tale. I thought someone might notice me, that someone might need me. But it wasn't any different from reality. No matter what a nobody does, they stay a nobody. Then one person noticed me and said I was a talented player and respected me for playing solo. He was a magic user, like me. He asks, could it be that magician was? She interrupts, that's a lie. I made everything up. You're close to discovering it, aren't you? The fracture, the way home, meaning someone has discovered a way to return to our real world. He says, I can't prove that yet. It just makes someone disappear. She says, don't you think if you worked with me, you'd be able to prove it? If you live with me, you'd get more info than what's available in Akihabara. You'd be able to use the wealth and power of the people of the land however you want. I believe it's the best way to get back home. He says, if I did that, everything would become a lie. Everything I worked so hard to build. And even if I once told you that you were talented, I can't use that as an excuse. I can't go with you. I can't give you what you want that easily. I'm more your enemy than your friend. I'll be your enemy. She says, now I want you even more. One day, you'll be mine. And then she vanishes.